Did you load new ones?
No. I got. Suck. "15 seconds to air." This is why I should have the clock.
I thought you had your remote for this clock.
He's got the remote. Good morning. Welcome
quick
to the
break
Warriors
from our
Way in
podcast.
association with United Community Addiction Network. I'm here with Aaron. Say hi, Aaron.
Good morning. Hey,
Morning. Hey, how are ya?
how are you doing?
And Aaron is from the United Community Addiction Network, and I wanted to have him on because he's got an excellent story. I think you guys are going to like him. So, first off is, buddy, your name is Aaron Rubio, and we're going to start off with stuff that I find funny. Remember when we first met, you said your background was what? Do you remember? Before the DNA test?
I was Mexican.
You were Mexican.
Right on.
And then you did the DNA test, and you were...
I found out I was a mixer match of things.
A mixer
little
match.
native, Moroccan, some Spaniard, sub-Saharan African.
Yeah.
It was quite a variety
Dude,
pack.
that right there just spells out good looking to me, but
Perfect face for radio.
Yeah,
Been told that many a time.
dude, if my face, my guy tells me, he said the hardest thing he's got to do is get these cameras to make me look good. I know that's some tough work.
Right on.
So you are from the Davison area?
Yeah,
in
born and
Michigan.
raised in Davison.
All right, and you went to David High School?
Davison High School, class of 89.
1989.
1989, man, going back in time.
Right, and did you play any sports or anything?
Yeah, I played in high school. I played some football and some baseball.
Okay.
Enjoyed those. I took a break in between. I was a wrestler in my younger life, and then when I got to high school, I made a decision that I would need a little break in the action from football and baseball.
And were you any good at those sports, or you just,
You know what? Growing up, I was average kid growing up, that type of stuff, playing baseball, thinking I was better than I was probably, right?
Yeah.
One of those deals.
I was really bad.
Yeah, right. An example of that would be in 7th grade, I thought I was a pretty good baseball player, and there was a 7th and 8th grade baseball team.
Right.
Well, he kept 3 7th graders, and I wasn't one of them, and I realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was, right? So I remember coming home and telling my dad, and my dad said, well, you can do one of two things. Give up the sport or put on your cleats, go outside and practice to get better.
That's
and
right.
So he went out and faithfully hit me ground balls and some BP and kind of worked hard at the deal. And, the irony of the whole thing is that same coach who cut me in 7th grade was the varsity coach by the time I made it through high school. And, you get going through your senior year, you come back out, and he kind of names me captain before the season and that type of stuff, and the irony of that. And we specifically talked about it on that day. So it was kind of cool. He called me in early and was like, hey, you're going to be a captain this year on this year's team. And during tryouts, if I'm on the board or on the edge with a couple of people, I'm going to ask you who do you want to go to battle with? So it was kind of cool, right? But we did talk about him cutting me in 7th grade. We kind of laughed about it then, right, type thing. But so
it's funny now that you're the captain. It wasn't so funny then.
No, it wasn't so funny.
It's a heartbreaker as a kid, right?
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? You adapt, move, you evolve, you take your circumstance and have it forward you in one direction or another, right?
Right. And so, all right. So you did you get any scholarships or anything?
So, you know what? I did go to Saginaw Valley State University on a scholarship for football and baseball. So I played collegiate sports, 2 of them, which is pretty cool. That's something that was kind of one of my focuses that I wanted to do, is at least play sports in college.
Yeah.
Blessed to play 2, right? So,
and that's D2, right?
It was a D2 university at this point. It was a college. It was a university. Yeah. So it's a Division II. Yeah. So it was a last minute decision, but enjoyed it. Great experience there. Met a lot of great people. Some good friends from there. And I've scored a college touchdown. I've hit a college home run, and so I'm blessed. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
You're like Jordan.
Well, not quite, but
that's all I could come up with.
Yeah.
It's like Jordan hit a home run. It's in the White Sox, right? In fact, I believe his batting average 202. 202.
Wow,
which in Double-A, that's pretty solid, right?
It's not bad. If you're Michael Jordan, it helps.
Like
right?
that would be tough just as a baseball player, is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, for sure. When I was in college, there was some 2 sport athletes that were going at it with it, like a Deion Sanders and a Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
And my wife jokes now to me that I kind of latched on to you because I thought you might be the next Bo Jackson. And so
you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, so that didn't quite turn out to be, but I know it was enough of a lure to bring her in, right?
That's right.
It is funny.
With that good looks and charm on top of that, that's double threat. So did you finish school?
Yeah, so I actually spent, my life growing up. I did not finish at Saginaw Valley. I spent 2 years at Saginaw Valley. Left Saginaw Valley at that particular juncture because somehow my current girlfriend got pregnant, right? And at that particular time in my journey, I was always, deadbeat dads, quote unquote, deadbeat dads, not my words, but social words, right?
Yeah, right.
And it was always one of those things that, I wouldn't want to be a deadbeat dad because it was just entrenched in me. So, you know what? Fast forward, we found out she was pregnant. She was a cheerleader at Michigan State at the time. And so it's kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? I came home, I started pouring concrete walls and, started making some decent money and just stayed at it. For the next 5 years of my life, I worked 6-7 days a week, working 60, 70, 80 hours sometimes a week because I was going to have a child, right? And I didn't have to, but I was helping put my wife through college at the time, so she wasn't working. So we did whatever we had to do to make that work, man. So sometimes our dreams, hopes, and wishes that we have, they get sidetracked, right? And if it's a priority that's more important or you feel is more important, we make a decision to do it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted more of that family nucleus versus me playing sports, right?
Like with mine, I don't think I've ever told anybody this before. I'm like 3 credits from an associate. Like, why didn't you go back? And I was like, brain injury. Like, I don't know how to explain this in a way that makes any more sense. Like, right. that particular book is shut. And it's like, well, is this something you want to do? But I know I'd have to cheat to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't read that well anymore. I struggle with.
Well, you could have an in-house tutor because most classes are online now. So.
Yeah, and I would have to cheat because my wife has a master's. I'm like, babe, walk me through this.
That's your partner. So is that technically cheating?
And I want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those things that I may go, you know what? And because someone's like, well, why not? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't find the relevance of it. I guess, but it is. It matters because people understand that you're driven. That's what that piece of paper kind of gives you.
Yeah, so last year I went back kind of in your same situation.
Yeah.
I had enough credits for a quote-unquote general humanities associates.
Yeah.
But if I took like 3 more classes, I could have an associate's in social work.
Yeah.
So because of the things that I do with fighting substance use disorder, I thought, well, maybe I would target that. So I did go back. I took those classes last year, got those done.
That's cool.
Right? So
did it feel like I don't feel? Did it feel accomplished? Like
it's a step of a journey that I can work towards it, and I got an end vision, an end goal of trying to go back to school now, not necessarily to use a degree to go on. But I noticed in my world, a lot of the people that get asked to speak at venues and events and things like that have a PhD or have some acronyms after their name, right?
Yeah.
And so I began to look at a retirement idea as if I could get my education as I'm going through this process and get to a point where maybe I will have a master's or a doctorate in something and be able to go out and speak on the experiences and the fight that I fight on a daily basis.
Right. And you do have like 13 master certificates, right? in the drug addiction world or in support world?
So me right now?
Yeah.
So I am an international master's addiction coach in the training that you get from like the Addictions Academy. Dr. Kelly Estes does a great job.
Right.
But it was ahead of the game where there's not a lot of certificates, not a lot of degrees in substance use disorder,
Right.
that type of thing right now. So even physicians don't get a lot of training on it.
Right.
So yeah, so through the Addictions Academy, I have like a dozen from her specifically, but I have another 15 of them that are state and national certifications from the Department of Health and Human Services or the state of Michigan, things of that nature. So yeah, now I sit down as an international master's addiction coach. I do have over 25 different certifications in the disease of addiction, and it just helps me level the playing field.
25. Wow. So what you're saying is school is really important.
Well, knowledge is power. I'll agree with that.
No,
it doesn't necessarily have to be in a degree or from a college, but something that...
Like the information that you're getting is being sucked into something that you're so passionate about that it's not work, it's learning, it's knowledge of how to battle this disease, right? And that's what we're
feeding the beast, right?
That's right, and it's not even work, right? Because you're like, oh, this is the next thing, and I got to chew this thing, and what's the next thing? And so,
absolutely,
and that's where you and I personality are very, very similar, right? And so you went to college, and then you went into construction work, concrete work. No wonder you look like a little brick.
A lot of people ask about lifting weights and stuff, and I say, man, working in the concrete business for 5 straight years was.
I would not want to shake your hand hard because those dudes' forearms are like Popeye.
Well, it's been a long time, so things change over time. So I won't break your hand probably. Yeah. So all's good there. So yeah, I came home and kind of you weigh that out and always reflect. Just turned 50, so reflecting on.
And how old were you when you did the concrete stuff?
Yeah,
20,
19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, young.
Feels like a lifetime, right?
Feels like a lifetime ago, right? So when I look back, I wouldn't change anything because obviously the experiences in life that I was blessed with 2 children, had a family the whole time. It was all good. But when we look back and I had to weigh that out, I still played some baseball. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny, we're kind of talking about those funny things is so I played baseball. And I would go to work over on the east side of Michigan, and I would have to be there when it was light enough, 6:15. Mm-hmm. You could bang a hammer safely, and you'd be on the clock, and you could work till dark. Mm-hmm. And my boss told me you can work as much as you want to work, and I was working a lot.
Right.
The only time I would leave that early was I was still playing baseball in a Flint league called the City A West, right? It's where the best of the best in our area played in a league together. So on my team was a couple guys from Michigan, a couple guys from Michigan State, Western, Eastern,
Saginaw Valley.
Oh, yeah, had a squad, great squad. Me, I came from pouring concrete all day, and I had concrete on my arms, and they kind of look at me like, what are you coming from? And my uniform was balled up in the back of my car, and the same one for the week. I'm fine, right? Because I don't know any different. And these guys are all there in plenty of time, doing their isometrics and their stretching, and got their eye black and their 7 wristbands, and looking like they're just ready for a photo shoot, and here I come, right? So that's kind of funny how the evolution goes. They'd be like, where are you playing at? I'm right here with you guys. No, where do you play at for school? I don't. I pour concrete walls. And it was a joke at first, but they ended up calling me Crete. That ended up becoming my nickname for that season with those guys was Crete because we're at Michigan State, and you come off the concrete field, right?
And you're how old when you're doing this right now?
And I'm 19, 20, 21, 22.
Okay.
I was still chasing a dream, if you will, of maybe I could catch a glimpse of somebody in this baseball world and something. I went to about 5 pro camps, never made it out the last day, just wasn't meant to be. And after that 5 years, I was done pouring concrete walls. My wife had graduated, become a nurse, kind of changed gears, and I decided to give up the dream of a baseball, and it transitioned into a slow pitch softball.
Yeah,
frenzy.
but it ended up becoming a dream. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So how many kids did you end up having?
So I have 2 children. Riley, my daughter, she is 30, and she's a nurse. And AJ, my son, is 26, about to be 27.
Now, is it weird to say their ages?
Yeah, because
it makes you feel old, right?
Yeah, right. So
when someone's like, "How old are your kids?" I'm like, "Well, my grandkids."
yeah. Well, that's funny.
So it's 30 and what?
30 and 26.
All right, 30 and 26.
Yeah, so it's been a lifetime already.
And they came up, and your son had some baseball talent, yeah.
Yeah, actually, my son was a pretty good baseball player. He grew up in the travel era, so there was always a tournament every weekend. It could be on 2 and 3 teams. So baseball was a different dynamic for him than it was for me. But yeah, he got exposure, played on some really good teams, met a lot of great people, a lot of great families through coaching, through that journey. Wouldn't trade that for the world. Didn't turn out like we thought, but rarely does it.
What grade was he? He was like a sophomore?
Yeah, so he played
when he was like playing like real competitive, right?
Yeah, as a sophomore, he was playing. He was an all-stater as a sophomore at Goodrich.
There you go.
He played on a team.
Hornets, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So played with the team in the summer that was coached by Cleveland Indians and Texas Ranger scout. Right?
Wow.
Being recruited by numerous Division I schools. So yeah, he ended up being an accomplished a young high school player at that point. And then sometimes things don't always work out like we thought.
So that is going to be our break point. And when we come back, we're going to kind of get into that. So you are the CEO of the United Community Addiction Network.
Yes, sir.
Which is a network that we put together that around the state, around the country, and around the world is our function to identify and help people who struggle with the with addiction and the disease of addiction and the family issues and all those things that come with it, right?
Absolutely.
And so I just wanted people to see your background. You're just an average American, guy trying to make your shot, and you didn't. You worked hard, and you got your family, and you did that stuff, right? And when we come back, we're going to find out how this regular guy's life turned into a passion of where we're going. So you sit tight. We will be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program. So people that are talking about breaking the rules use their fingers to speak to each other. And that's what gangs do to communicate from point A to point B. It's almost like this has been in the Bible for 2,000 years, and people feel like it's a new thing. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That things that are happening in your life today are in here from 2,000 years ago. That's very weird. I'm saying there's a chance.
Okay. Whatever works for you.
All right, welcome back. I'm here with Aaron from United Community Addiction Network.
Yes, sir.
And this is the Warrior's Way, and he's our warrior this week. And so we were just getting into your kids in the background, your son playing baseball, and he was highly touted and recruited, right? And so we work in the United Community Addiction world and addiction, and their passion comes from somewhere. And this session is about where that passion came from for you and why it's such a big drive for you. So tell everybody kind of what happened and what transpired from you not having anything to do with it.
So if we look back and look at baseball and football, we touched on some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. That is where we have a passion, and sometimes we as humans have a passion. We live it out, either get to play that sport professionally and live the dream, or if we wanted to be a nurse or a doctor, we go to school, we get it, we're attainable, we live those dreams. We have a passion to be something. And that's great when people are able to live out their passion. Sometimes your passion chooses you based on your life circumstances, events, things that happened, right? So I was impacted by the disease of addiction through my immediate and extended family.
Okay.
I seen and witnessed what it did to an individual's life. I've seen and felt the impact on the family. Trying to get help for individuals was always a bunch of hoops to jump through, very cumbersome, hard to do.
Yeah.
Talking to the hospitals, they were of no help, didn't have the staff, the space, or the resources to put towards fighting substance use disorder. Courts would say we can't sentence our way out.
Yeah.
Law enforcement says we can't arrest our way out.
Right.
Schools were saying, oh, man, we prefer not to talk about it because people won't move into our district or they'll move out of our district.
Because they think there's a drug problem.
There's a drug problem, right?
Yeah.
So that could pose an issue. So, Isaac, when I weighed all of that out and seen where it was like, okay, I'm going through this and this is miserable. So much like taking a class, I thought, well, geez, I'm going to try and figure this system out in case someone ever, now that I've found out from 0 to 100 how big this problem was, especially in my area, it made me want to create a platform in which would allow other individuals, even though they're going to be impacted. I probably can't stop that, but I can help them navigate the journey with resources and connectivity.
Yeah, so what we're talking about then is you went through a personal experience that affected your whole family. So one person struggles with addiction, and your wife, your kids, your grandparents, your aunts, and all, everybody's affected by that one relationship, right?
Absolutely. I call that the collateral damage of addiction, right? Addiction does a lot of damage to an individual's life, but the collateral damage, the families, the relationships, the work, the legal system, all the other things that go on, is, it goes under the umbrella of collateral damage of addiction.
You have to deal with all of that as well, not just them.
Absolutely.
Right? So you having to deal with trying to figure out a way, and was nothing. Like you said, the answers were, we can't arrest them out of it. We just arrest them and hope they figure it out. We can't sentence them to jail and we hope they figure. The answer was, we hope they figure it out.
Right.
And that was like, that's not an answer. That's a kicking the can down the road, and we're going to hope you're a responsible adult. And what happens if the mind is altered, and where do they go for help, right? And so coming from a religious background, my faith is the thing that carries me through those difficult times. But what else is there, right? And so you started coming up with, and when you came up with that idea with the ambulances, dude, that idea, like you were like, oh, it's 2 years behind and we can get it in 2 months lifetime. That was such a great idea. Like, you've got to tell people how you came up with that. That was a gem,
man. When we looked at the statistics and getting them, the stats were so antiquated. I remember giving a...
Tell them what you're talking about, the stats. What stats you're talking about.
Yeah, so, the stats in general are antiquated. So it was a combination of, okay, there's multiple stat sectors. How do we improve on these, right? So medical examiner, getting his stats back. Overdose data and getting the stats in the EMS system, being able to be retrieved, designated by county, then broke down into city, so you could really see the effect that the disease of addiction had on there. So
and before you took a look at it, how far behind was that information?
Man, they were months behind, years behind, depending on what county it was.
Like up to 2 years,
Up to 2 years. In 2019, I remember giving a speech to Michigan State's Human Health Services, and I'm using 2016 stats.
I remember you telling me that.
And so the stats were so
And those
antiquated.
are the most up-to-date stats.
That's what we were using as stats. And the disease of addiction, because I was in the trenches 2016, 17, 18, 19, it was so different that if you had 25 years experience in the industry, it was all for nothing, because in the last 5 years, the game had changed, you know. And some of those stats we look at, 2016, around, just an example, in Flint, fentanyl was like around a 26% of the overdose death rate, fentanyl. 2019, like 67%. So fentanyl in that time frame had totally escalated and started taking some lives.
Yeah, and everything's like getting cut with it, right?
Everything.
It was crazy.
And still is. So yeah, that's pretty bad. Then we work with the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and we have an SOS program, System for Opioid Overdose Surveillance. So we monitor naloxone, Narcan injections given every 2 weeks in Genesee County.
That was a whole bunch of big words. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
SOS. Say that again. Stands for
System for Opioid Overdose Surveillance. We're monitoring these overdoses based on Narcan injections, which is the overdose.
That's the thing you bring them back if they OD?
Correct.
That's the
it's a nasal spray or intramuscular injection, one or the other.
All right, that was just, you were really fast, and I'm not that smart, so I just want to make sure that I get, so you got the information on the stuff that helps people come back from if they OD and what that information is.
Correct.
All right, cool. All right, now you got me.
So now we can take that platform and use it for a lot of good things. And when I say good things, it's strategic planning. How can we continually fight this epidemic as it continues to grow, but yet strategize our resources in areas in which are in need? Right. So that's that program allows us to do. So, and those stats are 2 weeks. We worked at the medical examiner, got his stats within like 6 months, and COVID came, so he kind of fell back a little bit. But right now, again, we're catching back up. And trying to work on that, because stats are important and more real time versus historical data.
Right. So what you're telling me, you were using stuff from 2 years ago trying to get information, and then you use stuff with this guy, and you're within 2 weeks, right? You could actually identify which county had the most like ODs at what time. Like you knew where to go on what day, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
we
what you were
broke
telling
that.
me?
Yeah, and we broke that down into Genesee County,
Right.
and then into subsets of cities. But a city like Flint with multiple zip codes, we broke that down into multiple zip codes. Therefore, we could be in the zip code territory on the Tuesdays that happened to be the day of the week, or that was just the most prevalent for overdoses for whatever reason. So we learned a lot from it.
Yeah,
because the stats don't lie. Right?
I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, because when you first told me, it was blowing my mind, because you asked me, you said, which day do you think was the most overdose day? I was like, Friday or Saturday, right? You're like, no,
Which
Tuesday.
most people do.
Yeah, and you're like, Tuesday. I was like, how do you know? And you're like, whew. And then it normally happens between this and this like you can actually use that information to find out where the people are at what times, and then because the ambulance information was so within weeks of that you could actually use that and keep the ambulance guys closer, which helped save lives as well. So, and this was something that was invented. It didn't exist, right?
The stats have always been there in a database,
right,
but never
applied.
collected, analyzed, and then distributed in a way that you could use them for strategic planning for your communities. That is correct. And thanks to the folks at U of M Ann Arbor in their Injury Prevention Center, they do a great job extracting this data and putting it into the format we created for the overdose surveillance.
Right.
And then every 2 weeks, furnish that report from their program. Really
and
great.
That's one of the things when people are like, "Yeah, I'm doing good work." But when you first sat me down, I was like, "No, this is doing good work," right? Because you're looking at it from how can we solve a problem when the problem is in this. And the other thing that I want to touch, and I just thought that ambulance thing was awesome, by the way.
Right on, cool.
And then the other thing that I thought was super cool is the kids part, right? Because like you said, in a school, no school wants to go, oh, we got an addiction issue, because we're not going to have our kids go there because you have an addiction issue. But if you think about how many kids are on painkillers because they get hurt playing sports, it's as prevalent as water.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And tell them about that part, getting the GIS.
So, we try and come and we want to talk about substance use disorder, try and give, quote unquote, addiction, right? A different look, a different name, not be so offensive, right? Help reduce the stigma with it.
Right.
Because it is the nature of a high school, a high school lifestyle sometime.
Sure.
And so sometimes, like I said, schools didn't want to talk about it. So how we were able to penetrate the walls and at least get in front of some people was through injuries through athletics. Mm-hmm. You still have athletics. You still have injuries. They're being treated with medication. How can we interact with those folks?
Right.
Because there's a commonality of they're using it. So other than just talking to people about the bad effects of that, we also want to get on the prevention side and educate on proper use and what's misuse, storage, disposal of medications, keeping those medications out of individuals' hands that, not that they don't know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're doing or what they're getting into, right?
Right. They don't know the hole that can slip them into very quickly, right? And as a teenager, you always think, I got it.
Everybody's invincible. It's not going to be a problem. It won't be me, and those type of things. So we were able to get in front of some athletic directors. We were able to talk to them about injuries, athletics, treatment protocols. We referenced the Price method out of Harvard, which is prevention or precaution, right? Whatever we can do there for the P, but then rest, ice, compression, elevation, the Price method with some Tylenol and Motrin. That should accommodate most pain and injuries through rehabilitation.
Right.
Short term, 3 days, 5 days, maybe some stronger narcotics to help with that immediate pain. But we've learned that anything over 3 or 5 days, one, the person can start to become physically addicted, but two, in the injury world, it allows us to say, well, something must be wrong. Maybe your arm was too swollen, your foot was too swollen. We couldn't see a fracture through the swelling.
Right.
We thought it was just a bad bruise, but really it's more. So after that first week, right, we inspire that, hey, there's got to be some collaboration, and you got to figure out, do they need to be on those pain pills for the 90 days because that's what they have? And so education to athletes, educations to the coaches, athletic directors, team physicians, and trainers, along with the parents and the student. I mean, it's a full wheel that everybody's got to be on the same page just to address these individuals.
And before this was addressed, none of that happened.
Correct.
And it was just up to the student basically to figure it out.
Well, it was the student, it was the parent,
parents,
it was the school. It was just kind of out there as well. He's injured, and
everybody thought everybody else was doing it, kind of deal. So it's just up to the kid to go, well, whatever. And that 90 days of being on that could affect the rest of their whole
change.
life.
It'll influence and change the dynamic of someone's future. It really could.
And that's why, that's what I love about the UCAN program is the outside of the box thinking and the ideas of how can we help these people if we, instead of just saying, well, you're a bad person and you got to figure it out.
Right on.
Well, what do we do to help them do that? And let's make them figuring it out become as simple as possible. And that's what I've always loved about your approach. So and how old were you when you started the UCAN, like, so from you working, you said in your early 20s,
right,
to UCAN, what was that time frame there?
Yeah, man. So it's a long time frame. I can tell you that, right?
Yeah.
So probably a couple decades of raising some children and getting into those teenage years. So probably through that journey, I got into travel softball, so that took up a lot of time, and coached the kids young, growing up, that type of stuff. Really didn't have a do that, but in 2012, right? So we're going back about a decade from now, is when I actually entered into the arena, shall we say, of having to start to procure a provider, and what is providing, and what's MAT, and it really was the groundwork. So after being in it in a decade now, I'm better versed, right? And I like learning from people and collaborating with people. So there was a time frame there where I lived life outside of addiction. Really didn't know. It's one of those things that I look back and say, yeah, I knew addiction was out there and that type of stuff, but I didn't know
it hadn't hit home.
Impact that it had.
So you were like what, early 40s?
Yeah, so
yeah. So you were in your early 40s when you started really taking a look at this, because the impact that it had on your family and the people around it and your friends, and then you saw that this is a huge issue, right?
Right.
So it's amazing how something can be oblivious to your radar and your life's just moving and everything's kind of is, and then this thing happens and whoop, everything changes. Right? So here you are going through your 20s, into your 30s, life's living, now you're in your 40s, now you have this passion, and now you got a nonprofit that you're starting, you want to help people. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the funny things that kind of happen in those situations. If you have not gone to spiritualwarfareunit.com, like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. We'll be right back.
I'm really impressed with the teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
It points out, my bad parts, and but it's showing me how to do the good parts, and I'm trying to apply that and make a better life for myself, because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? And it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, the different things of, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from, And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us, and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
All right, welcome back. We are now in our gems section, and a gem is a funny story that you have for us in regards to things that happen. And I find when there is passion in something, there's also humor. And so I know you got to have a couple of gems for us, bud.
Yeah, we got some funny things that have happened, I suppose. So,
all right.
I look back and we talk about let's talk about fighting substance use disorder, fighting the disease of addiction.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of happiness that comes to that.
No.
One of our commonalities that we always say is, if we don't laugh about it, we'll probably go crazy, man. Yeah. So we try and find a little bit of laughter, a little bit of peace in the storm by sharing some funny stories and different things.
Yeah.
But, most of us, when it comes to fighting the disease of addiction, we look at people's situations and the info that they gave us. And it's funny because the info that they give us, we've realized over time that they're, poor historians. They really don't remember how things really went, right? And they're if their lips are moving, they may be lying because it's just a trait, right? So we try not to have that judgmental. We try and look at it. But when we hear those folks and they tell their stories and all this type of things, they try and kind of lighten the load.
So
right?
when they say their number is 867-5309, that's probably not it.
That is not their number, probably, right? So,
that's right.
Yeah, so we try and decipher, right? So the hard part about my job is deciphering between, okay, he told me all that. I want to believe him. I want to believe her. It sounds good. I mean, look, my one of my faults probably is I believe everybody for what they say.
I know you do.
I do, right? Because I know when I talk with these folks that they want to change. I believe that, right? And I wholeheartedly do. It's just a matter of how do they transition into doing what they want, and making it. What are you willing to do, right? So I don't know. Just some funny things to me that come up is what people will say. And I always say this: people say whatever they say to get what they want to get,
Right.
and then when they get what they want to get,
They become difficult.
they forgot everything they said to get it,
Yep,
right? And the whole
that's
thing
right.
switches, and you standing there holding the bag like, oh, you brought me that painting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And
type
listen,
thing.
when it comes to works of art, my brother,
Yes,
I
sir.
will support you in whatever you decide to buy. I will say though that we have different ideas on what we believe is good.
Yes. So I was talking to a guy who does some artwork around town, and he advised me I would not probably make a good painting judge for him because my idea of art is kind of distorted. My appreciation.
Your idea of art's distorted.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
my idea of art is distorted. When I showed him my masterpiece, he said, A, where'd you get that? And B, I hope you didn't pay for it. And I did pay for it. And then when I told him, he asked, what's the amount? And I told him, he kind of laughed like you are, right? So, again, it was a gift that I couldn't turn down. And it was.
So you're in this situation. This gentleman has been fighting the addiction world for a while. And in his mind, his painting abilities are there, but the outcome of it is different than your idea of what good art would be.
Yeah, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And I can appreciate that.
And it was a one of a kind.
It's all good, right? So I did happen to pick up a one of a kind portrait of a warrior that happened to be on my business card, right?
Yeah.
And the guy brought it in to me. So I'm appreciative.
Yeah.
I like it. We use it.
That's right. And
it brings us laughter and joy.
Listen, I have to tell you, I have to have it here. This here is the gem that we were taught. Absolutely have to have it here because we know that you paid top dollar for this kind of artwork. And our warrior here, we had to put this in, and this is a good background for our chessboard. What an absolute masterpiece that we have here.
It's a blessing.
Top dollar. I love. This is my most favorite painting. You know, it's my most favorite painting, and it has a great great story to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the first pieces I bought in my art collection.
And because you love these people, you're doing it. And I'm just like, Aaron, what are you doing?
And I got another little memento that maybe we could display sometime. It was a second piece.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure to bring that in, that second piece. That was especially the A. And it's absolutely one of a kind.
One of a kind. That's kind of what I look for in my art collections, are one of a kinds.
You will not see another one like this.
Yes.
And will I say, the artist's ideas and thoughts are kind of there. And you can kind of see it in the background where his mind was getting to, right?
Oh, yeah,
honestly.
absolutely.
And but the outcome was uniquely not to your artistic ideas. So speaking on that, and coming from someone who doesn't handle things correctly, so being in a car accident, one of the things that you have to deal with is that gate between your mind and your mouth doesn't work. Okay, and I went through this for 3 years saying every single thing I thought. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute, because how much trouble would you be in? And this is in self-defense of myself. I'm precluding this because this isn't like good or anything, but it's I'm not going to tell you if it's true or not going to true. I'm going to tell you it's a good story. So, going to a doctor, and they were doing laser treatment on my brain, which they were shooting a laser gun into my brain, trying to regrow brain cells to help with the injury that I have. So I go in there, and there's this Indian fella there, and it was right after lunch. So like I had a 1 o'clock appointment, right? So I have lunch at noon.
Gotcha.
And so he comes in. He's kind of a portly fella. And I don't know why it is that the worse someone's breath is the closer they require their mouth to be.
Right.
But he was like right here.
Okay.
And it was actually shooting directly into my nostrils while he's talking. And you have to understand now, from my perspective, he's talking. All of a sudden, he sets the gun down, stomps out, shuts the door. That's my perspective. Okay. And I'm like, man, what a jerk, right? So I wait a couple minutes because I don't know what's going on. The lady comes in and she says, I'm the manager of this establishment. And I'm like, well, good for you. And she said, Mr. Walsh, you cannot tell my employee that it smells like a cat poops in his mouth. Now, what you have to understand is at this moment, I thought that. But you would never say that because that'd be rude.
Right.
And now I'm sitting here in this moment going, oh, no, I actually said this to another human being. So now the conflict comes in. Do you support or defend the action, right? So I was like, all right, full defense mode. I'm like, ma'am, there is no way you've not smelled his breath before, and he's not coming back in here without some Big Red.
There you go.
His breath is terrible. And she started to chuckle, right? And I was like, okay, we're done here, right? And so we finish up and we go out, and we were in one of those physical therapy places where they got the bars that walk and the weights and the people doing the stretch stringy things and all that stuff. And again, I thought it would be funny. And I need to stress that part. Because I remember at the beginning I said he was kind of a portly fellow. And he was bending over to pick something up, and the slot appeared. Large slot. And I thought it would be funny if somebody put a quarter into the slot machine and yelled jackpot, because apparently he had missed underwear day. And
okay.
we were in front of everybody, and I thought that would be funny. In reality, it wasn't that funny. He was very upset. The one thing that I could not understand, though, is how the quarter made it from where I put it into the slot machine to where it came out, and how it managed to make it through that process. And I was trying to figure that part out while he was screaming at me, right? And then the funniest part was they said, well, we don't want you back anymore. And I was just like, well, like, you realize I have a brain injury. I didn't do that on purpose.
Right.
I didn't know that I was doing that. But see how easy it is to judge?
So did you pick up your change and go home then?
Oh, no, I told him he could keep it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you pick it up.
Take a quarter and call someone who cares, and we'll get back to you in the morning. Yeah, he didn't like me, and I accept that.
Right.
I accept that as a good
Deservingly
answer.
so.
Absolutely.
Deservingly so.
I didn't know. What are you supposed to do? And I have people, Isaac, that's so terrible. You're right. But that's the story that let me realize that it was a problem.
Right.
And I went 3 years prior to that without knowing that was a problem. So imagine trying to sit there and think back about that.
Your poor wife.
Dude, man, my poor wife had to put up some stuff.
Right.
I'm like, Lord, I apologize. Because I didn't even know that I was doing that, right? And when you're going through that, you don't know.
Right.
And people are judging you and talking about you. And I think it's all good fun. And people tell me what a terrible person I am. I'm like, yeah, there's definite support in the fact that you're probably right about that. But then when you look back at it and see, man, I came through something. Like my injury is called horror fusion, right? And there's only been 8 other people that have even had it. It's so rare. And no one's come back functional. And because it's so hard. Yet here I sit being functional, and people want to tell me, you're such a bad person. It's like, do you understand the back half acre hell I walked from? Like, yeah, I can always improve. I can definitely be better. But judging me on that, I'm not sure if we put you in that particular
you get
pot
all the
that you're
info.
going to come out looking good either.
Right on.
I mean, I did come out looking
Rough.
pretty rough. But, I was alive,
Right.
so.
That was the start. We got to have that.
That's right. So
We gotta have that.
that was our gem segment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into what the United Community Addiction Network is doing now and what they're looking forward to in the future. We'll be right back.
I was an addict
All
for
right.
6 years. I was deeply into heroin and addiction. 2014, a lot of events happened for me. I had lost my sister. My dad was just diagnosed with cancer. I was just kind of in this headspace of being in a mess as it was, and then I was introduced to heroin. I kept it pretty well hidden there in the beginning. A lot of people didn't know that I was using just because I went about my everyday life the same way anybody else would. But what they didn't know behind the scenes is I was using 10 times a day. I'm living out of what I consider a trap house at this point. There's no windows, there's no doors, there's no place to stay warm. I had no other way of making money. I was doing things that weren't okay to me. I started prostituting. I was stealing from my loved ones. I was taking my dad's cancer prescriptions, and I would take them and I would sell them. I couldn't even contact my daughter in December of that year to tell her Merry Christmas or send her gifts. And it just got to a point where I knew, like, I'm either going to get clean or I might as well start planning my own funeral. So for me, it wasn't even just that I needed to stop. My life over the course of 6 years fell apart.
So I met Sarah in 2019. We had a program I was working with law enforcement officers, and I got the call that they had somebody, so there I went to meet Sarah.
Here's just this happy-go-lucky guy just, oh my God, here's treatment. Here's what you can do. You can change your life around. I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, what did I get myself into? Like, maybe sitting in a cell by myself might have been a better idea, because at least I don't have to listen to all this.
Whenever I see somebody who's willing to go to treatment to try and help with their issue, it's something that I don't make that judgment. I always just try and provide the hope, the encouragement, and the motivation to go to treatment, and then hope that it works for them, hope they engage, hope that it's the point of life that they're in, that they're ready to make that change.
It was a huge wake-up call for me. When I'm watching all these people that I used to hang out with, including my husband, get clean before I did. And just watching their lives change so drastically and them becoming so much happier. And I just sat there in this endless abyss of a mess that I caused myself, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to stay clean. I didn't know how to live my life without substances because I had done it for so long.
With UCAN and our relationships we can actually get people into multiple treatment facilities. So depending on age, gender, the drug of choice, things of that nature, there's certain facilities that maybe have a little bit more of a success rate with certain populations. So we kind of talk through that and then try and place them where we feel is an optimal place to succeed.
My husband and I finally got a place together, and life has pretty much been good ever since, but like the key role of it for me was staying in contact with people.
We can't go in and drive in and grab somebody, just pull them out like they're drowning. It's a decision they have to make, and it's a commitment they have to make, and then they have to be diligent, determined, dedicated to find sobriety.
So my husband has 2 years clean, and I have 22 months clean. I will have 2 years clean on December 21st of this year. Just last month in October, we went back to court. Everything's officially terminated. She's back home with us for good.
Yeah, so UCAN is that conduit. A lot of times people don't know when to or how to or where to go to start looking for services. So we try and promote UCAN as being the starting point for people to begin the road to navigating recovery.
It is more than possible to change your life around.
So this program that we have allows law enforcement that if they have somebody that they feel could use the opportunity to try and get treatment instead of incarceration, that they would reach out and we could handle it for them.
Recovery is possible, and there is hope.
Oh, so funny. Oh, man, that's so funny. All right, welcome back. Yeah, you guys miss it. I've got to tell them. This is so funny. So our Dave is our production guy. We come in here last week, and Aaron was sitting there talking to us about, Dave is the production guy, and he kind of runs things. And I'm like, yeah, well, I want this, and I want that, and I want this. And I'm like, yeah, but Dave runs things. And right as I said that, Dave's like, 20 seconds. I was like, oh, yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Thank you, sir. I apologize, sir. So, all right. So we're getting back in the United Community Addiction Network. Do you guys got some events that are coming up, like for the community, that they can go have fun or check out or see what you're doing? Or
there's some things that are coming up, right? Different things. Most of our events coming up aren't really like fun to hang out at. We got Black Balloon Day, March 6th, which is recognizing those we've lost to the disease of addiction. Right. We got it in April, DEA Drug Take Back Day. We're kind of narrowing down where we're going to be. We did one with Ascension Genesis Hospital in the fall. This spring, we're going to change it up a little bit. We think we'll go back to Ascension maybe in the fall again with them and team up there.
Where are you thinking?
Location. I'm just kind of looking around. Okay. We did one at Davison Senior Center. We wouldn't mind doing another senior center. Maybe something at the veterans, and maybe here at Insight, maybe out in the front here if Dr. Shaw would allow us to be out front here.
All right, cool. So you got those going on now. As far as like people who have family members that are struggling with addiction and they want to get involved, and like, is there a way that they can donate time or money or both?
Yeah, absolutely. We get asked that a lot. How can we help fight the fight, right? And so we say, well, you can pray for our mission, right, and help us to kind of navigate the journey. You can give us of your time if you have time and some talent you want to help us set up or tear down or be a part of our events. Anything that we do. And then the third way, obviously, is financially be able to contribute to us. So they could go to our website, ucanmichigan.com, check that out, click on donate, and be able to offer donation there. So,
all right. And then normally, like, you guys have some kind of events, like a major events or stuff that you put together. So it's like if people want to get involved, do you have like a day where they can go bowling or
Yeah, so there's different things we do. We sponsored an event, a bowling deal that's coming up here in March for somebody.
Okay.
Another organization in our network that we're working with. But we're having some softball tournaments this summer. We're going to do a run and
hold on. So softball tournaments, like who gets to play? Like, are you guys, like, is it like people that came through the addiction, or are we talking former Tigers? Like,
no, not former Tigers, but the sobriety community. There's a kind of like a sober circuit where a numerous amount of softball teams are there for people like New Pass, that whoever is in New Pass at the time, that's their new team for the year.
Oh, so the guys that are going through the program they're the players.
Absolutely.
All right. And like, how many teams do you get from that?
Man,
like how many houses or whatever?
Soberfest is a tournament here in Flint, and they usually have 14, 16 teams. Yeah,
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, softball
Okay.
in the sober circuit is a pretty big deal for those folks. Absolutely. So we're looking at putting on a softball tournament here in Davison.
Okay.
It's a nice community park back there. 4 fields, can house a lot of people. Great family park and biking trails and walking trails. There's a beach nearby. So all kinds of really cool things to do. So it could make it quite an eventful day.
And when do we have a date set for that yet?
We don't have a date. We're kind of
Okay.
verifying some dates, but it'll be later in the fall.
All right, cool. And then golf stuff. All the golf guys got some stuff, yeah?
So we do a couple of things when it comes to the world of golf. We have our own golf outing at Genesee Valley Meadows. I
Okay.
think this year that's going to be September 17th.
right.
And, so we're always looking for foursomes to come to that. That'll be up on our website, updated on our website pretty soon here.
All right,
So
hold
the
on. How competitive is it? Is it like pretty competitive?
there's some pretty good teams there. I think last year we had 14 foursomes.
Yeah.
Right. So
do you
get
remember
some
the winning score? by
good
chance?
golfers over. Man, I want to say the real winner score because there was a false one given, but the real winning
cheating at an
score
event. That's
was
awesome.
like -12.
Are you for real?
Yeah, so it's actually a good
Minus
combination
12.
of some golf in that
so
day.
if you got some skills, this is the place to go.
This is the comment, and this isn't the greatest of talent, right? Because -12, you get some good golfers, you get some things going. But
is that like best shot each time or whatever?
yeah, so we run it.
Okay.
It's a scramble. So
Okay.
all 4 guys will tee off, and you can take the best ball you feel is best for your next shot.
So what was the fake score?
Well, the fake score came in at like 16 under. There was a couple of other things that happened that were
What
that
happened
were pretty
was-
funny. What happened was I was gonna right. So
No, I
yeah.
swear it was there and then it was gone. What happened?
Right.
I
But we
don't
have a
know.
good time. It's for a great cause. It's a good day. It's fun. We're also this year, speaking of golf, the charity of choice for the Detroit Tiger Alumni and Friends Golf Outing again this year. So we're blessed
very
with
cool.
that. Yeah,
so you get to. So people don't know you get to like hang out with the Tiger guys and like the Detroit guys, right?
Yeah, for sure. So it's Detroit Tiger Alumni and Friends. So Red Wings, Pistons, golfers, some different guys from the community.
MMA guys.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
MMA guy, Dan Severn. was
Dude, I
there
got to
last
meet
year.
him. He was amazing.
Yeah, he's a big beast, the beast,
He's
right?
still huge,
Yeah.
dude, and he's like 60 something.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, that
And
was a super fun event. Where was that at?
that was at Warwick,
That's
the
right.
Captain's Club.
Yeah, don't they have
The Captain's Club, sorry.
Don't they have some major golf event there over at Warwick?
Well, at
Whatever.
Warwick, yes, but I misspoke. It's not Warwick. Maybe you should ask me again where it was at. Let Dave cut that out.
It's all right. Then live, we don't do cuts, bro.
Gotcha. So the Captain's Club, Woodfield.
Okay, is that near Warwick at least?
It's down the road from Warwick, yes. Great
Okay.
course, nice course.
It's
Quinn and the people had it set up.
gorgeous.
The layout's great. It really was a great venue. We had it at Warwick the year before. That was my confusion, my slip there. But happy we made the change and doing great things with them and looking forward to doing it again. A lot of people out there, great sponsorships available.
Yep.
And being the charity of choice, we don't run the event. We don't coordinate it. We just kind of are the beneficiary. And we have people that go and help people with registration and cart decorations and other miscellaneous things.
And so, and there was a bunch of vendors out there just hanging out. That was a gorgeous day. The food was amazing.
It's a great day. Everybody was fired up. We had Sheriff Swanson kind of let us off with a big hoorah, got the crowd fired up, right? So everybody wanted to take the governors off the golf carts and run through brick walls after he fired everybody up.
Oh, yeah.
So that was good. And then I had a great day, great outing, just a lot of great entertainment, food. Everything was really good. So we're happy to be a part of that event as far as our golfing goes.
All right, so you're like getting pretty big, and people are knowing the UCAN name at this point.
Well, we're growing, right? So we have
Yeah.
a chapter in the thumb now. We cover Northern Lapeer is how they word it, Northern Lapeer. But we were with #Hope out in Lapeer. They do great work there too. So we call it Lapeer, Sanilac, St. Clair, Tuscola, Huron counties with the Great Lakes Thumb chapter.
Okay.
So doing some really cool things with community mental health and drug courts, the jails that we're going to begin some programming out that way too. So yeah, we're getting bigger. We're helping to make a bigger impact. Got a lot of great warriors that help UCAN in so many different ways. So again, if anybody wants to help fight the fight for whatever reason you choose to, we love it. We appreciate it. You can go to our website, ucanmichigan.com,
Yep.
and click there now and just kind of send us a message that you want to be a part of the mission.
Yep, and the last little member I want to make sure we get to say hi to is our drug dog.
Hans.
Hans.
Hans is a
He
beast
needs
now.
his brother Franz, and they're there to pump you up. But he is our drug dog,
Yeah.
and they go around and they help with what?
Yeah, so they've been doing a great job. Chad kind of heads that up, and
Yep.
he's our canine handler. Him and Hans are the dynamic duo. And they go and look at treatment facilities, schools, transitional houses, personal residences, whatever we can do to help. And the duty they're actually performing is narcotic odor detection, right? So he's trained on 6 different narcotics on being able to search. We don't do any seizure. We don't do any prosecution. We're just trying to help deter or detect drugs from a drug-free facility.
Right, keeping people sober as they're trying to stay sober. And that's actually a difficult thing. believe it or
Yeah,
not.
help me help you type thing.
That's right. Well, Aaron, I just wanted an opportunity for people to meet you and get your story, because I find it absolutely fascinating that it is always a personal situation that happens to create that passion that pushes all this forward. Everything you just told us wouldn't even exist without the difficulty in your personal life. And this is where I try to tell people, just because something looks negative, just because you got diagnosed with a brain injury or you have a family member that is struggling with addiction, does not mean that that is a bad thing. It means it is a difficult thing to go through. It is something that has to be fought against and is there constantly pushing back. But it is also the very thing that could push your passion to drive you into something that's not work, that's not difficult, that you enjoy doing, that helps other people, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what happened with you, is you saw this situation, you came across the difficulty, and you chose to make it a positive. I just want to thank you for coming to the Warrior's Way, and this is Spiritual Warfare Unit. Please check out our website. If you have a nonprofit or church, you need a life group that needs a faith-based life application class, please check out our spiritualwarfareunit.com. We got a program that'll work for you, COVID-proofing you in case you got to get shut down. I appreciate you guys coming out. We will see you soon. Bye.